So today I'm going to take you through our Synergy hard gel system. We have 3 different base gels. We have our original, and this is just a clear base. Okay? So the reason that we start with a base gel is that base has more resins to it, which is going to help bond to that natural nail. So when you apply your base gel, that is going to be the best bond to the nail of all of our gels. Okay? It's kind of like building a house. You're going to build the foundation. The base is going to be your foundation layer. So this is a very thin product, and to pick up your base gel, all you're going to do is use your brush and you're just going to kind of draw it through and lift up. Okay, you're not going to try to scoop in and pick up a lot of the base. You don't need a lot of that on the nail. So again, you're just going to kind of draw your brush through, lift up, let that little string kind of just detach a little bit, or you can also tap on the side and get that to release. Then you'll have a nice little pearl on your brush, okay? Base is the only gel that you're going to brush on. You're not going to float it onto the nail. You're going to brush it on. I'm going to bring that back to my cuticle area, getting a little bit of pressure in there. I'm not floating that onto the nail at all. I'm brushing that through. So you're going to get a nice thin even coat, and that's going to coat the nail. We're going to cure it, and then that's going to really bond to that natural nail. Then we also have come out with our concealer base. So we've got our pink base and peach. They're going to be the same consistency, maybe just slightly thicker than the original base, but same thing with that brushing technique, not a floating technique. All right, so those were the base gels. Now we're going to get into our building gels. Flex is going to be your thinnest and the most self-leveling. So if I turn this on the side, you can see that that product is going to run, it's going to move, it's going to self-level. So if you're somebody who's working very quickly, you might be able to use this for a full set, but I actually prefer to use my Flex more if I'm doing kind of dimensional nails where I'm layering a thin layer of maybe glitter, another layer of confetti, another layer of foil. Whatever you're layering in, you can use the Flex gel. Now this one, it's a little bit thicker viscosity than the base, so you're not going to just drag across the top. This one you can actually kind of scoop in to pick up a little bit, turn your brush over, and then again tap off that string. So then you're ready to go with that pearl. Okay. Then we have our build gel. Now this is a medium viscosity, so it's a little bit thicker than the Flex, but it is still somewhat self-leveling. Okay. Again, if I tip that on the side, you'll see it is going to start to move, but it's not going to move as fast as the Flex does. Same thing with this one. You're going to scoop in, lift up, turn your brush over, tap on the side. Again, this can be used for layering if you want to use it for layering. This is the one that I actually like to use to cap all of my my dimensional nails. So it's really good for still building structure, but it's going to fill in between all of the glitters, all the mylar pieces and things like that. So it's going to give you a nice smooth finish to the nail. And then our thickest gel in the pot is our clear sculptor. Now this one is a non-leveling gel. So this one is going to stay exactly where you put it. I can sit here and I can hold this upside down for as long as I want. It's not going to move. Okay. You can even see in the jar that all of those lines in there from using the gel, you scoop it out and it doesn't self-level back in the pot. So same thing on your nail. This one is what you're going to use if you really are trying to build structure, if you don't want your product to move at all, if you want it to stay exactly where you want to put it. Now the trick with this one is definitely not one you're gonna just float your brush across. You really do have to scoop in with some pressure to get that product out. So again, you're gonna scoop in, kind of dig in even. Again, turn your brush over and tap off that string. So again, you've got your product on one side of your brush, and then you can work that and float that over the nail. Okay, so with your builder gels, you're not gonna do that brushing technique like we did with the base. You're gonna basically be dropping your product down, kind of let it loosen up from your brush a little bit, and then you're gonna float over the surface of that product, okay? Do you see I'm not pressing, I'm not pushing product, I'm floating over the surface. And I'm working kind of in circular motions so that that product is gonna just kind of move right where I'm guiding it. And then just kind of pulling right again over the surface of the nail, just guiding that product into place. Okay, again, I'm not brushing like I was with the base coat. I'm not bouncing or pressing like I would be doing with acrylic. If you do either of these techniques, you're going to end up getting air bubbles into the nail. Okay, so make sure that you just keep your brush just on the surface and you're floating and guiding that product into place. We also have Build Pink, which is the same consistency as our Build Gel, but it just has a pink tint to it. And sometimes you do get a little bit of glitter in there. Don't worry about it. The glitter will just sink basically to the bottom of the container. Okay, you're not going to have to worry about that glitter getting into the rest of your nails or your designs. I actually really like to use this one. Again, I was talking about how I like to use Build over the top of my dimensional nails. I like to use the Build Pink as well because sometimes this will brighten up your colors in your dimension. If you're building nails with the Build Pink, the Flex, any of those thinner nails, I usually recommend doing 1, maybe 2 nails at a time and then get that into the light so it doesn't continue to move on you while you're working on the rest of the nails. Okay. And then we have our Concealer Pink and Concealer Peach. Just like we had the Concealer Pink and Concealer Peach base, we have a Concealer Pink and Concealer Peach building gel. And again, these are going to be a little bit of a thicker viscosity. So these, again, you're going to want to scoop in, turn your brush over, tap off that string so that it releases. We're going to press that down, let it release a little bit from the brush, and again, working in those circular motions, moving that product. Okay, now these gels are not as self-leveling as the Build. They are definitely a thicker viscosity. So these work really good. You can see I can kind of create a smile line. So if you're doing pink and whites, these two colors are really good for those kind of designs and those kind of nails. Okay, but it will eventually flow with gravity. Okay, so be aware of that. Again, if you're doing a full set, maybe start with one or two nails and then move on to the rest of them. So 1 or 2 nails, get them into the light, freeze them into place, and then work on your next nails so that they don't run into the cuticles. And then our next building gel is going to be our white sculpture. So this one is a really great white for if you're doing pink and white nails. If you guys remember that marshmallow fluff food, I don't even know what it really is, candy something or other, it's marshmallow fluff, but that's what this reminds me of. It's a thicker viscosity, but it's very smooth. So if you're working with the white and you're doing a smile line, what I actually like to do is I'll kind of roll that product off of my brush on my free edge, and then you can work that into your smile line, okay? And again, just floating over the surface like you would with the rest of your building gels. Now you want to make sure that you don't get your white too thick, okay? Now you guys, I'm not going to do a perfect smile line. I just kind of want to show you the technique of moving the product. But you want to make sure that you're not using too much of the white, because if you make that white too thick, your light is not going to be able to cure all the way through. This is also another reason that we sculpt out our extensions with a clear extension and then put the white over the top so that the white can cure from the top down, but then also from the bottom up. So just make sure you're not applying your product too thick. And then if you're sculpting, sculpt out in clear first and then add your white on top. Okay, so the precision applicator tubes are also building gels, but they are in the tube to make it easier to use. You can still use the brush with them. It's a personal preference, whichever brush you like to use. You can use the applicator tube or you can use the brush along with it. Combination of both is just fine. Let's start with our clear sculptor. Now remember we had our clear sculptor in the pot and that was really, really thick. Now, if we tried to put that thickness of gel into the tube, you'd never be able to squeeze it out. So in the tube, it's a little bit thinner viscosity than what's in the pot. So with our tubes, I'm basically just going to squeeze out product onto the nail and then use the tip of the nozzle to move that product around like it would be your brush. Okay? As you're working, if you feel like you need more product, you can always squeeze out more and then work that through the nail however you need to move your product. But again, just like with the brush, I'm staying over the surface of it and I'm floating that product onto the nail. I'm not trying to press or push or anything like that. I'm just floating over the surface. Now, the Build Pink is actually the same viscosity of what's in the pot. And then again, we have the concealer Peach and Pink. And you can see as I'm putting the rest of these products out, do you see how that Build Pink has already started to just kind of soften and flow a little bit more, just to kind of show you a little bit more of the consistency and the viscosity difference between the Build and then the concealers. Again, you guys can use whichever of these gels you like. Start with your base and then use any that you prefer to use. Once all of these gels, everything from the Flex to the Build Pink, the concealers, the clear sculptures, everything is going to cure to the same durability. So whether you're using the Flex or the clear sculptor, it's going to all cure out and your nail is going to have the same strength to it. So don't worry about if you're trying to use and make the nail as strong as possible and you think you don't want to use the Flex, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to cure out and it's going to have the same structure and same strength. Let's talk about our finishing gels. Okay, now gloss gel, this is going to be again from the pot, and you're going to use your brush, pull through. This one you don't want to scoop because again you don't need a lot of that product. Okay, so this is a beautiful top coat. It's a little bit on the thicker side, so if maybe you were doing maybe a dimensional nail or something, and maybe you had a little dip in the nail, maybe you had a little piece of glitter that you wanted to cap a little bit better, this is going to be a really good option to kind of encase that product a little bit more, give you a little bit of a thicker top coat so you don't actually have to go back in and add product and then do your top coat. This will kind of take care of those little low spots all in one. Okay. Now one of the great things about the gloss top coat is that it is a stain resistant top coat. So this can be used on your hairdressers, people that are working with chemicals, anything that would discolor the enhancement. Okay, so the gloss gel is going to be a really good stain resistant. And then our next top coat is actually stain resistant top coat. Okay, and we kind of came out with this as another option to the gloss gel. This one, again, you're just going to brush on a nice even layer, just like you would a regular top coat. And then one of my favorite top coats is the Ultimate Finish. It's a little bit of a thicker viscosity for a top coat. So again, if you've got those, low spots or things like that, you can use the Ultimate Finish. But the first two top coats are going to have a tacky surface once they're cured out, so that you're going to need to use the swipe to remove. Okay, so use the swipe to wipe off that tacky surface. The nice thing about the Ultimate Finish is that once it's cured, it doesn't have that tacky surface to wipe off. So it's a really quick and easy application. So it's going to go on, it's going to cure, and then it's going to be done. You don't have to take the extra time and effort and product to clean off that top coat. All of our products are going to cure fully in 1 minute. Like I said, as you're going, you can freeze your products for 30 seconds while you're working on one hand and then switch to the other. A full cure of 1 minute is necessary at the end. Now, when you're working with your top coats, I do find, especially with the Ultimate Finish, that if you cure it for an additional minute, so cure it for 2 minutes, you're going to get a little bit of a higher shine. The product is still cured fully after 1 minute, but you get just a little bit of a higher shine after 2. So, hope this kind of cleared up some concerns, questions, misunderstandings with your gel products, and hopefully you guys will be able to use all of these different options to make your sculpting and your building of nails much easier.
Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe to the channel now. Subscribe to the channel